Heading the late night news, parliamentary behaviour under fire amid rowdy scenes in the House.
And that slur be withdrawn and he apologise. He is a disgusting creature. You are
Member for Charlton will resume his seat.
Allegations of a cover-up over an investigation into the sexual misconduct of a former judge. And a heart scare for former Olympian Dawn Fraser.
The Late Night News with Sandra Sully.
Good evening. First tonight, federal MPs have spent the day trading insults in what's been described as a new low in parliamentary behaviour. The uproar was sparked by revelations union-led protesters targeted female police officers in their violent raid on Parliament House last August.
Already it's remembered as one of the ugliest days in our country's history. But today, the August storming of our federal parliament took yet another hit. A police report claiming the rioters had gone after female officers.
They would target specific people in the police line, generally women, and try to pull them into the crowd and attack them.
That allegation very close to sparking yet another Canberra riot, as Industrial Relations Minister Peter Reith used it to attack the opposition in question time.
Parliamentary Labor Party has some responsibility in this public debate to set proper standards.
That comment sparking uproar, the opposition demanding he withdraw.
He is a disgusting creature.
I would ask the Minister to reflect on the words that he's already used and invite him to withdraw.
Exactly what words? Because I say to you in a bona fide way, Mr. Speaker, that I chose my words carefully.
Finally, John Howard stepped in, all but defying his Speaker's ruling.
I'm at a complete loss to understand how you could conclude that his remarks were offensive.
This evening, that reprimand took its toll, the Speaker Halverson returning to the floor to rule Minister Reith was not out of order. A small victory for the government, but at a price. The humiliation of the Speaker severely denting John Howard's promise to raise the standard of government. Tracy Chamberlain, 10 News.
The Wood Royal Commission has heard police files were falsified to conceal evidence of alleged sexual misconduct by the late New South Wales Supreme Court judge, Justice Yeldham. One protected witness told the Commission the judge exposed himself to men at Sydney railway stations.
The late David Yeldham was an esteemed Supreme Court judge, but details of his secret double life have emerged at the Police Royal Commission. The retired judge committed suicide last month after being named in Parliament in connection with the Royal Commission's paedophile inquiry. The Commission has now revealed it's been investigating Mr Yeldham for over a year, and police have had secret files on him since the 80s. In one startling allegation, the Commission heard how police were called to the busy Wynyard station in 1990 after Mr Yeldham masturbated on the stairs in front of a 19-year-old man. The complaint wasn't followed up because Mr Yeldham denied it, but serious questions have been raised about the police handling of the investigation. Counsel assisting the Commission, Paddy Ann Bergen, said what is recorded in the police notes is not consistent with what occurred that day. The Commission wants to know if police falsified records to tell a different story when it came to prominent people. Commissioner Wood noted the secret files on Mr Yeldham could have been used to blackmail him. That is a possibility that events would be used against a judge to affect the exercise by that judge of his judicial office. The head of the police special branch, Neville Ireland, admitted keeping documents on Judge Yeldham, but 3 of his colleagues denied any knowledge of Mr Yeldham's alleged activities. Mark Gibson, 10 News.
The father of a Sydney teenager accused of murdering 3 members of his family has told a court his son has never shown any violent tendencies. Wayne de Gruchy has stood by his 19-year-old son's claim he did not murder his mother, brother and sister.
Wayne de Gruchy told Wollongong Court his son is not a violent man. Matthew de Gruchy is charged with murdering his mother Jan, brother Adrian, 15, and sister Sarah, 13, who were found bludgeoned to death at their Albion Park rail home in March. The 19-year-old's counsel, Peter Skinner, asked Mr de Gruchy about his son's temperament. Is he a violent boy in any way? No way, Mr de Gruchy responded. The court heard that earlier Mr de Gruchy had told police that Matthew was sometimes a little bossy, but never violent towards his younger brother and sister. The court also heard Mr De Gruchy refused to return a blood sample that police had accidentally left behind at the family home. Detective Barry Doherty gave forensic evidence that several weapons were used and that Adrian had probably been killed after his mother and sister. Matthew De Gruchy protested his innocence at an earlier court hearing but has entered no plea. The hearing continues. Lisa Clifford, 10 News.
The cost of home insurance policies is likely to rise following a blowout in the cost of burglary claims. The country's largest general insurer, the NRMA, says while thieves are not targeting more homes, they are stealing more expensive goods.
The nation's largest general insurer says burglaries across the country are costing millions of dollars. While the number of break-ins has remained steady, more expensive items are being taken. Jewellery among the favourite.
In addition to that, now you have a lot of the home theatre equipment, CD collections and computers. Very expensive to replace, easily sold on the black market and highly desired by burglars.
In Victoria alone, more than 10,000 video cassette recorders were stolen in the past year. In New South Wales, the cost of burglaries for the NRMA reached $40 million, a cost that is expected to push premiums higher. Their claims show in most cases thieves did not have to contend with security measures where they broke in, and only a handful were fitted with alarms.
Homes fitted with alarms are less likely to be burgled.
Door locks and window locks can also be very useful in cutting down the incidence of burglary.
The NRMA has launched a new campaign to encourage people to use more security and for the community to work together against crime.
It's basically about building a community that doesn't want to commit crime as much as it is about building a house that isn't easy to steal from.
Melissa Aston, 10 News.
Australian swimming legend Dawn Fraser is tonight resting comfortably in Sydney's St Vincent's Hospital following a second heart scare. The 59-year-old Olympian was rushed by air ambulance from her Barellan home to Sydney after suffering severe chest pains.
Heavy hospital security surrounded the arrival of one of Australia's greatest sportswomen at Sydney's St Vincent's. Dawn Fraser was flown from Griffith Base Hospital, where she has spent the last couple of days in the intensive care ward. She was admitted after complaining of chest pains at the weekend. Doctors say Ms Fraser may have suffered another angina attack. During the flight from Griffith, she was administered an anti-clotting agent to help treat her heart problem. Less than 4 months ago, the four-time gold medalist collapsed while at the Olympic Games in Atlanta. US doctors confirmed she had blockages in the arteries leading to the heart. But after 3 days' treatment in hospital, Ms Fraser was discharged and immediately resumed her busy round of engagements. Earlier today, doctors suggested this second attack could possibly indicate the need for bypass surgery. According to Dawn Fraser's public relations manager, the Australian swimming sensation is just undergoing a series of tests and hopes to be out of hospital by Sunday in time for the cricket.
She's fine, she's in good spirits, she's been reading the papers, watching the TV, she's been watching the cricket all day today, and she's have a good night's sleep. Her daughter, Dawn Lorraine, who was at her mother's side in Atlanta, is again nursing her. Late tonight, doctors confirmed Dawn was in a stable and satisfactory condition. Tomorrow, she will undergo a number of tests. Michael Reid, 10 News.
And we'll have more details on Dawn's condition next in Sports Tonight with Tim Webster. Melbourne doctors are performing a revolutionary new procedure to plug holes in the hearts of children. The technique requires no major surgery and allows for a much faster recovery.
They cut me here and it went up into here.
You wouldn't know it, but 6-year-old Catherine Shaw had the hole in her heart mended last week. She's one of the first in Australia to undergo the new procedure. Until now, open heart surgery was the only option.
I think for any parent to know that your child's going to have open heart, it's just daunting.
The new procedure uses a special collapsible disc developed in the United States. It's placed into a tube which has been inserted through a groin vein to the heart. The device is pushed through the tube and once inside the heart is opened like an umbrella with two discs plugging both sides of the cavity.
The main advantage over open heart surgery is that the patient doesn't have a scar, doesn't have the pain and discomfort associated with any surgical procedure which takes a while to heal. and is up and about within a few hours, home the next day.
A hole in the heart can cause lethargy and fatigue in young sufferers and often leads to premature death in middle age. Mark Fletcher says his 5-year-old son Anthony recovered from the new procedure within hours.
He's full of energy, full of beans, and keeps us going, and of course we've got smiles that are very hard to get off our faces.
The procedure is part of an international trial which doctors say is already proving successful. Of the 5 patients they've treated, all are doing extremely well. And young Anthony and Catherine are more than happy with their newfound energy.
Run faster.
Kim Carter, 10 News.
Still to come in the late night news, demolition work starts on Port Arthur's Broad Arrow Cafe. A Melbourne woman pleads guilty to stealing $50,000 from a judge. And a bankruptcy deal for women claiming for faulty breast implants.
The reality is they did something that hurt a lot of women, and those women are entitled to be paid reasonable compensation.
Warning, this experiment can have a seriously uplifting effect. First, take a drink of lift. Now, focus on the center of the circles. Concentrate. Don't look away. Keep staring. Now, on the count of 3, look at what happens to the can in your hand. 1, 2, 3. Look at your can. Only the sharp, zesty taste of lift can truly give you this uplifting experience.
There's nothing so lonesome, morbid or drear, than to stand in the bar.
Enjoy.
Of the pub with no beer.
Strongbow, sweet, dry or draft.
G'day, Bob.
What have you got for us?
The driver's seen the child come out of nowhere. They've tried to stop, but
Were they speeding?
most people wouldn't call it speeding, just trying to save time. Over the speed limit? I'd say only 10 kilometres an hour over the speed limit, but look, it added 2 car lengths to the stopping distance.
And 10 kilometres an hour can make all that difference.
Yeah, they should have kept to the speed limit. This should have been a minor accident. Now it looks like this kid's not going to make it.
What's the outback got to do with tattooing? The outback gets hot while tattooing is hot. This is Ray Shuttleworth. He's an award-winning member of the Professional Tattooing Association of Australia. Next time you think hot, think Outback Tattooing, Camberwell Street, Mount Isa.
Perth police have launched an international investigation to establish the true identity of a woman who was caught smuggling almost 5,000 ecstasy tablets into Australia. Customs officers discovered the drugs, which had been hidden in a girdle wrapped around the woman's body and taped to her thigh. Identifying herself as 24-year-old Tanya Lynn Airdley, she was caught as she stepped from a British Airways flight from Amsterdam. Today she pleaded guilty to attempting to smuggle in almost 5,000 ecstasy tablets to the country. But in a strange twist, police believe Airdley has lied about her identity and have called on international police agencies to assist. A former federal court employee has pleaded guilty to embezzling almost $50,000 from the Chief Justice of Victoria. Fiona Borden says she's now deeply ashamed after spending the money on clothes and gifts.
27-year-old Fiona Borden pleaded guilty to 5 charges in the county court today. She admitted while she was Assistant Secretary to the Chief Justice of the Federal Court, Michael Black, she stole almost $50,000 from his ANZ bank account in central Melbourne. Part of Miss Borden's duties included depositing cheques for the judge, but she falsely represented to bank staff she was entitled to certain money and also placed his funds in her own Advantage Credit Union account. Her barrister, Tracy Vinger, said the case was unusual in that his client did not spend the money on an addiction like gambling, drugs or alcohol, and he said she didn't live the high life or hide the money away. The Chief Justice became suspicious about Miss Borden when the bank contacted him to warn he was nearing the $50,000 overdraft limit on his account. Federal police placed her under surveillance and she was charged a short time later. Miss Borden's sister, Carmel Jones, said Fiona often bought expensive and extravagant gifts for family members. She also bought a watch, clothes and furniture for herself, but Judge Michael Kelly said it was hard to know exactly where the money had gone. Mr Vinger said his client was now deeply remorseful and knows she will probably receive a custodial sentence for her crimes. Jane Phillips, 10 News.
Demolition work has started on the Broad Arrow Cafe where 20 of Port Arthur gunman Martin Bryant's victims died. A security fence has been placed around the building to prevent souvenir hunters taking pieces. The dismantling of the cafe is expected to be completed by Christmas. Some of the building will be left in place to become part of a permanent memorial for the 35 people who died in the massacre. A setback tonight for thousands of women seeking compensation over failed silicone breast implants. Chemical giant Dow Corning says it will pay compensation, but it expects to be less because the manufacturer is filing for bankruptcy.
Dow's offer of $3.25 billion comes as part of a plan to emerge from bankruptcy. The company filed for bankruptcy protection 18 months ago because of lawsuits by thousands of women around the world who claimed Dow's silicone implants caused lupus and other autoimmune diseases. But the company told a bankruptcy judge today that while it put money aside, most of it will only be paid if a special trial declares that implants caused medical injury.
This whole proposal says let's put science and the controversy in the center and decide once and for all, is there enough evidence to say whether implants cause disease or not? We clearly believe the evidence is overwhelming that implants don't cause disease.
Dow Corning has stipulated that the trial will only hear testimony from independent doctors and scientists, not from any of the 300,000 women who received their implants. Just $750 million will be available now for any out-of-court settlements. All other claimants would have to wait for a jury's decision.
The reality is they did something that hurt a lot of women, and those women are entitled to be paid reasonable compensation.
Lawyers for the women say Dow's plan is aimed solely at limiting damages they'll have to pay because the company has agreed to pay its creditors in full. Those attorneys now plan to submit an alternative proposal to the bankruptcy court. In the United States, Eddie Meyer, 10 News.
Kashmir separatists are being blamed for a massive train explosion in India, which has claimed at least 12 lives. The train exploded as it was pulling out of a crowded station. 2 cars were destroyed in the blast, which also left 39 people with serious burn injuries. No one has yet claimed responsibility for the explosion, but attacks on trains are a hallmark of those fighting for Kashmir's independence from India. Ignoring government threats of a crackdown and the heavy snowfalls, thousands of Serbians have again clogged the streets of Belgrade.
Well, to have some changes in this country, to have democracy, to have Milosevic to resign.
The protesters accuse President Slobodan Milosevic of rigging recent local elections. They have vowed to continue their demonstrations until their demands are met. Catholics around the world are continuing their prayers for Mother Theresa as she remains in a critical condition in a Calcutta hospital. And it appears their efforts are being rewarded with news tonight she is feeling a little better. Doctors say treating the 86-year-old charity worker is a big challenge.
At this point, you have to treat it in a special way, always in communication with what Jesus and God has to say. And whatever the message is, she has to continue or it's time for her to go.
Earlier this week, Mother Theresa had asked doctors to stop treating her so she could die. When the late night news continues, a new poll reveals most Australians are in favour of a republic. A Hollywood star defends his controversial new role.
Didn't give the orders to kill lightly.
And in sports tonight, how's that for a catch?
down she went. That's the end of Carl Hooper. Beautiful delivery from Fenton.
There's nothing so lonesome, morbid or drear, than to stand in the bar.
Enjoy.
Of the pub with no beer.
Strongbow, sweet, dry or draft.
Help yourselves, lads.
Traditional soft drinks from you-know-who.
Christmas, 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 nobody does it better. 5 rolls of gift wrap, $2, foil pullouts. Christmas tree, chain with Santa, angels, lantern stars, $1.50. 9-piece satin ball barrel packs, $2.95. Christmas trees from $2. Pack of 20 Christmas lights, $3.95. Box of 50 cards, $2.50. Christmas fun packs, $2. Box candy canes, $2. Tinsel, 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 nobody has our range. Cheapy tinsel, 50 cents. Christmas tinsel with stars and holly, 70 cents. Deluxe matte tinsel, $1. 10-metre super tinsel, $2. 9-foot chunky tinsel, $1. 12 feet curly spike tinsel, $1. 2-metre mega tinsel, $3.95. There's brooches at $1 and earrings at $2. And just arrived, children's Christmas t-shirts, $1.99. That's right, kids' Christmas tees, $1.99. And this week's doorbusters, picnic sets with cutlery and crockery, $20. 3-metre by 3-metre garden gazebos, $59. Australia-made chockies, $2. Men's fashion shirts, $8 or 3 for $20. Windproof lighters, $2. And a pack of 3 sports socks, $4.95.
The Queensland Fire Service would like you to listen out for something very important, like this. This is the sound of smoke billowing through your home. Silent, toxic, deadly smoke. Here's another. It's a smoke alarm, cheap and easy to install. It's important that you don't delay, because only one thing is more frightening than waking up with your house on fire. That's not waking up at all.
A vocal supporter of controversial euthanasia laws has backed down and is now fighting against mercy killing. Rod Dent's father Bob was lethally injected in October after a long battle with cancer. At first a strong supporter of the laws, Rod Dent has now claimed they're unworkable. He said they are in place because palliative care in the Northern Territory is appalling.
Had Bob Dent had access to the optimum palliative care in the Northern Territory, I believe he would have made a slightly different decision.
However, Mr Dent faced fierce questioning about his political motivations. He admits he is a member of the Liberal Party with career ambitions. In finance news tonight, Australian shares eased today, weighed down by heavy losses in gold and the resource sector. The All Ordinaries falling 5 points. The gold index slumped more than 35 points today. Sons of Gwalia lost 5 cents, Resolute dived 14 and Placer Pacific fell 6. Among the major resource stocks, BHP slid 17 cents, CRA fell 30 and Woodside Petroleum was down 10. The Australian dollar is tonight equal to 80.88 US cents, 48.45 pence and 92.11 yen. Gold is trading at $368.90 US an ounce. The FT100 share index is up almost 18 points in morning trade. The Hang Seng is down 61 points. The Nikkei has also fallen 44 points. With the Reserve Bank meeting today, there's speculation another interest rate reduction could be announced as early as tomorrow. Low interest rates and low inflation is also pushing down the price of gold. Our late-night news finance editor Mark Westfield has the details. Mark, are we starting to see a shakeout in the gold market?
Yes, Sandra. Gold has tumbled $14 in the last fortnight, and all the indications are that it will fall further, with some experts predicting that the yellow metal is on its way down to $350 an ounce. Gold is traditionally regarded as a hedge against inflation, and with inflation all but dormant in most Western economies, traders are dumping the metal for the same reason, and that is falling inflation. The Reserve Bank should announce another 0.5% cut in its official rate tomorrow. I can't understand why it didn't cut a full 1% last month, because all the indications then were that the economy was absolutely flat, and nothing has happened since to change anyone's mind. A rate cut would also take some of the steam out of the rising Aussie dollar too.
Thanks, Mark. Mark Westfield from the Australian newspaper. Well, international star Liam Neeson has arrived for his first visit in Australia to promote a controversial new movie, Michael Collins. It's the story of the father of the IRA and has caused a furore around the world.
Liam Neeson was very excited as he arrived at last night's Australian premiere of his new movie because he's very proud of it.
We've made a very good film, and I think people are going to enjoy it.
Michael Collins is the story of the Irish Republican who in 1916 masterminded the guerrilla tactics that continue to make headlines today. But he also helped negotiate the treaty that made Ireland a free state.
Michael Collins was this extraordinary hero.
But many people affected by the appalling nature of the killings orchestrated by Collins disagree with using the word hero.
This man didn't give the orders to kill lightly. It caused him a lot of anguish. But he did it.
The film has been condemned from many sides, with British Conservatives describing it as an IRA film, while Irish Republicans have accused writer-director Neil Jordan of glorifying a traitor. But perhaps the harshest call of all is that it's hindered the peace process.
I couldn't follow their rationale. Of course, they didn't have one.
Thomas Keneally, a friend of Neeson's from his previous role as Oscar Schindler, concurred.
I don't agree that telling stories creates bombs on the streets.
But the controversial nature of the movie stayed with even the most diplomatic.
And I go away feeling, yes, that this was a very special experience.
Angela Bishop, 10 News.
Stay with us. Still to come tonight, we'll have Wednesday's weather and then sports tonight with Tim Webster. And Tim, Australia one test away from a series win against the Windies.
Sandra, yes, the Aussies 2-0 up in the best-of-5 series, all the highlights shortly, plus the diagnosis that changed the mood of Matthew Elliott's day.
9:30 Wednesday.
They staked him out like dead meat and burned him in the sun like a beast.
Experience the last breath of life and the first taste of eternity.
Make me like you.
The seductive series premiere you'll die for.
I needed you too.
Wednesday, Kindred, The Embraced.
People are saying organics is the best shampoo and conditioner they've ever used. That it leaves their hair soft and easier to manage. They say they can see their hair has body and shines with health from the roots up. They even say it happens overnight. How do we know this? Because they've told us. Try organics. If you're not satisfied, we'll refund your money.
In the beginning was the ordinary battery. Then came the long-lasting Duracell battery. And now, the next leap forward, introducing Duracell Power Check. The battery with a fuel gauge so you can check its power. Anytime, anywhere. New Duracell Power Check. No battery is more advanced.
Chalk up the back wheels, will you? Get the yellow pages out the back, will you?
But you want to be stuck here all day?
Central Garage.
Yeah, I need someone to look at me ute.
When can you drop it in?
Pretty soon.
New Organics Light contains glucosil, which penetrates your hair from root to tip. For hair that shines with health. New Organics Light with glucosil. The difference is clear.
He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me not.
That time again, we must check out the weather. Today was fine in Cairns, Townsville, Canberra, Melbourne, Perth and Darwin. A low pressure trough will dominate much of the continent tomorrow with a weak high pressure system over Victoria. So tomorrow we can expect a fine, sultry day in Cairns. Townsville will be hot and 32 degrees. Thundery rain in Brisbane, clearing later. Sydney, the chance of a late shower and 25. Canberra should be fine and 26. Melbourne mainly fine and 19 degrees. A shower or two in store for Hobart and 18. Adelaide should be fine and 23. Perth becoming fine and 22 degrees. Darwin, an overnight storm expected and 34. And a late storm too for the Alice with a top there of 37 degrees. That's 10's Late Night News for this Tuesday, the 3rd of December. Our next national bulletin is at 11:30 in the morning and then again followed by the first at 5 News. Stay with us now for Sports Tonight with Tim Webster. I'm Sandra Sully. See you tomorrow. Good night.